Ryan was born in the year 2011, 22nd October 2011. He was a normal kid. He did not have any medical issues until the time he joined school in 2015 at the age of 3 years. There were no major signs to be worried about other than coughs and common cold, which were medicated at home. When Ryan joined school in the year 2015, he was very happy. First of all, he was very happy to join school, and everything was normal for the first 2 weeks. But on the third week, he fell sick, and we received a call from school that he had high fever and high pulse rate. And they had even tried to administer first aid, but it was not working. So they had to call us to take him to hospital. Ryan was not looking well. His fever was high. And actually, when we reached the school, he was just lying on a mattress without any clothes on, but his fever was very high at that moment. We took Ryan to Karen Hospital, Ngong, because we thought it's a common infection. And upon reaching the hospital, they performed the preliminary test, and the doctor who attended to Ryan advised us to go to the main hospital because he suspected that he had a heart condition. And it is after he had given him first aid that he called an ambulance, which ferried us to Karen Hospital. When we reached their main hospital in Karen, we were attended by Dr. Gikonyo, who is a cardiologist, but he advised us to go back later and see a pediatric cardiologist. So he booked us in on a Tuesday the following month, and that is when we went and met Dr. Bakari, who is a pediatric cardiologist. Dr. Bakari performed the tests required to ascertain that indeed Ryan had a heart condition. And after the tests, he confirmed our worst fears. Ryan had a hole in his heart, and it was a big hole. It was devastating. Being a first-time mother, I didn't expect that. I didn't know that Ryan had such a condition, because it's something that had never happened in my family. Just like any parent, I sought a second opinion, and so we went to Nairobi Hospital, and he was attended to by another doctor. And this doctor advised us to go for a mini surgery, what they call catheterization. So after a few weeks, we went in for the catheterization, and the doctor said, according to what they had seen, the hole was big and they could not be able to handle the operation because even the pressures on his lungs had started building. So she said it was beyond her. She said, basically she said it was beyond her. And she advised us to be going for regular clinics, and for Ryan to be put on medication. So when she told me it was terminal, the baby could not be operated on, I just canceled her report and went back home with Ryan and told God now to take control. When I reached home, I was tired, but I had not given up on Ryan. So after a few days, I got to hear about care for a child's heart through an old friend of mine. And when I explained the situation and told her that the doctor's report had indicated that the baby was inoperable she told me she could like to have the reports of Ryan. So I went back to the hospitals I had visited, and at that point it was even hectic to get the reports because we kept being taken in circles. We don't have the reports, we don't have a cartridge, but eventually we got a report. And that is what I presented at Care for a Child's Heart. And they enrolled Ryan in their program. And after that eased our burden so much because initially we were spending a lot of money on medication. I could remember he was taking around 4 drugs, and one of those drugs could only be bought at Nairobi Hospital. So I had to go, wait for them to process the medicine. And it was not a cheap medicine. But when Care for a Child's Heart took over, we felt like our burden was eased. And so he was put on that program, and they could deliver the drugs at a central point in town, and we could pick up the drugs, and life became bearable for a few months. Now, after Ryan got enrolled in Care for a Child's Heart organization, and he was now receiving drugs, they started looking at the possibility of him undergoing an operation outside Kenya, because now we had consulted the best doctors we knew of, the best hospitals, and they were saying it is beyond them. All this process was supported by Care for a Child's Heart. They are the ones who paid the tickets. The only bit that we did as a family was to look for a birth certificate and a passport for me and Ryan. But the rest of the paperwork and the implication was taken care of by Care for a Child's Heart. So after we got our visa, we traveled to the United States, and we were welcomed by the director at that time of Heart Gift. She's called Leslie, together with our host family, the Loveless family, and they took us to their home. They hosted us so well. Like I said, God brought the right people on our way. We came across a very spiritual family, a family that believed in prayers, and a family that accommodated us so well. So after a few days after we had rested, Ryan was booked in for a first appointment. And when we went in, the doctor, the surgeon who was supposed to handle Ryan's operation, Dr. Hussein, had earlier on asked for a report from Kenya. And the report that he got indicated very well that Ryan was a terminal case, that he was inoperable because his pulmonary pressures had started building. So he told me that before they operate any of their patients, they normally have what they call a small seminar where they discuss the patients they have. And so when they went for that seminar, Ryan's report came up and they discussed it. And actually, most of the team members who were supposed to handle Ryan's surgery pulled out because they said it is a very risky affair. If we push through with this operation, this baby might not even survive it. But I thank God because he used Dr. Hussein. Dr. Hussein suggested that he could do the catheterization himself just to get inside there and determine the pressures so that he can advise whether this baby can be operated on or not. So the week that followed, he booked us in for that mini surgery. And before the mini surgery, I remember he briefed me and he told me, Mom, we are looking at two situations here, two scenarios here. It's either the pulmonary pressures are high and this baby won't stand operation, or the pulmonary pressures have gone down and so he can proceed for the operation. But those pressures, I'll just be frank with you, do not go down easily. So Ryan was taken in for the catheterization at around 8. And it was a process that took several hours. So after a few hours, the doctor called. One thing I like about those doctors is transparency. They're not like our Kenyan doctors who will take your kid, walk with the kid inside the theater, lock themselves there. You don't know what is happening. You are dying the other side with anxiety. You don't know even what has happened to your patient. They called and updated us every step of the way. We have put Ryan to sleep. We have given him anesthesia, and now he's unconscious. And we have started determining the pressures. After a few hours, they called and they said the pressures are okay, and now he will proceed for the operation tomorrow morning. He will be the first case. And they even go ahead to prepare you mentally. They told me because this kid gave us a lot of problems, we really struggled with him to put him to sleep. So he will be unconscious as we pass from the theater, because we were seated at a lobby somewhere. So we will come down, wheel him to the ICU. He will remain in that state until tomorrow morning. So that is how Ryan stayed in unconscious state. He was motionless, basically. And he stayed like that until the following day in the morning. So come morning, he was the first case. And they wheeled him to the theater. And I remember we had a very spiritual nurse, and together with our host family, they really prayed for Ryan. And after he was taken to the theater, they told us it's a 7-hour operation. So when they opened up the baby, the hole was actually bigger than what they had even seen on their screens. And they told us, Mom, the hole is even bigger than what we had anticipated. But we will do our best. So they started and they operated, they finished, they were able to seal the hole. And they told me, we have managed to seal the hole. Now I want to return him to how he was initially. And when he comes down, you'll find that he has a bandage running horizontal across his chest, and that is how he left the theater. He stayed in ICU for like 4 days. So Ryan was brought down to the theater, and the first day he was just motionless. But towards around 8, he started moving his fingers a bit. And a few hours later, now he could now move his hand, but he was not talking. The following day, at around 7, now we could see movements. And he was given a bit of liquids just to keep him hydrated. And he really made us laugh when he was asked what he wants to eat. Now, during the day, there was very big improvements on now he could now move his hands, he could talk, although you could hear it's a faint voice, but at least you could hear something. So when he was asked, Ryan, what do you want us to give you? He said he wanted macaroni and cheese. And the doctors were really amazed because they didn't expect that from a 3-year-old. That's the first meal that he asked for. So, okay, anyway, he was put under observation. I thank God because of the determination I saw in that team. I wish all our doctors in Kenya could work like that. For them, it's a calling, it's not a job, because they rarely left Ryan's room. And the only time you could see a nurse leaving is when their shift ended and another nurse needed to come in. They were so dedicated. After two days, he went for therapy, because I understand that after those major operations have been done on a human body, at times there are side effects. You might get a kid maybe has a brain injury or becomes paralyzed. So he was put under therapy, and initially he shocked us. I don't know if it is because of he's a cartoon of a boy. Instead of picking, they could place an object on his right hand and ask him to use his left hand to pick that object so that they could see the coordination in his body parts. So he struggled a bit, but was eventually able to do it. And after 2 more days, we were good to go. We were released from hospital. And like 2 weeks after the operation, I saw a very big change in Ryan. The one-time dull boy became very jovial, and his appetite shot. He now wanted to eat, and now it reached a point you could now tell him now to stop. I think it's enough. And from there, we spent a few weeks over there for Christmas, and we came back end of January 2016. And we have seen a very big change in his health. For the last 2 years, Ryan has not been on any medication. He's healthy, he's strong, he's playful, and he's doing well academically. We thank God for the early intervention that was made by Care for a Child's Heart organization. If it were not for them, I think the story would be different today. So ours is a story of hope, to encourage any parent out there who has a similar case, that there is hope. And at times it's good to cancel those reports, those doctors' reports that tell you it's terminal. Because once you accept them, that is what will become of you, because there is power also in what you confess.